Good morning. It's about 5:20 in the morning. Uh, Normally I'm trying to get up at 5. I woke up at 4 a.m. and just thought I just needed to start my day. So today is, I'm going to refer to my notes. Today is Tuesday, June 23rd. And so yesterday was Suzy's first full I'll call it a working day in the acute rehab ward or whatever they call it. I'm not good with all these department names yet. This overhead light seems really bright in my eyes, and I don't know if it's because I don't feel fully awake yet or what the deal is. So it was a really, really busy day for her yesterday. So I'll talk about that. Obviously, you want to know about that. I'll talk a little bit about all the therapists that are working with her. I saw her get catheterized by the nurse, and I'll talk a little bit about that. I spoke with a medical social worker, which my friend Pew had told me was critical, and was a little disappointed there. And then I'll talk about what I'm going to call pillow talk, and finally, my most cherished birthday gift ever. So, Suzy's first big day in rehab. She got into rehab Friday night and I think she'd seen a couple of therapists, but I think it was really more for evaluation purposes than for therapeutic purposes. So Friday was a holiday, then you have the weekend, so the staff is at a lower level in terms of therapists and such. Nurses and nurses, aides, and doctors, they're always, there's somebody there 24 hours, but for things like the therapists and then the therapists and the doctors and the nurses, they all will meet on a regular basis to evaluate each case. So I'll talk a little bit about that. So Suzy had a big day, and I was really concerned about her stamina and ability to keep up with all this. And if this would have been non-stroke Suzy, I would have all the confidence in the world. But this is post-stroke Suzy, and she is really tired. And, not tired all the time, but fatigued easily and quickly. And I mentioned on an earlier video that I don't think I've posted, and I'll briefly take an aside right now. I've done several videos. I have not posted them. I apologize. It's just been a challenge for me uploading and having physical memory available to keep it on my phone. So I've been recording some of these videos on her phone and then transferring it to my phone as I get rid of videos that I've made as I upload them. So today I'm doing it on my phone. I'm going to try to do it just direct, and hopefully when I'm done this morning, I will just upload it to cloud, download it to my computer, and upload it to YouTube. So I know I could do this all from my phone on YouTube, but I'm not familiar with that, so I jumped through these additional hoops. And that takes time, and time is a critical resource for me right now with trying to get rid of my pack-ratted stuff. And I told Suzy the other day that I got rid of a bunch of old shoes and, I haven't gotten rid of them yet. I pulled them out of the closet, basically. I need to make a trip to Goodwill, and I have a bunch of dress shirts and some slacks that I want to take to a nonprofit that provides dress clothes for disadvantaged people that are trying to interview for jobs. So anyway, back to Suzy. Sorry for the diversion, but I just wanted people to know that I am regularly creating content. I'm just struggling to get it up online in a timely manner. And I'm trying to develop strategies to keep balance for myself and get things done that I need to get done. So, our first day of rehab, her first therapy was 8:30, and it was my intention to get there by 8:30, but again, I was running significantly behind, and some of that was dealing with trying to work with these videos that I've done. So I didn't get there till, I'm going to say 9:20, so the tail end of her occupational therapy session. I got to meet Emily and Athena, so she had two OTs working with her, and I did get to speak with them a little bit before they left, and they were very helpful, and I just keep saying this over and over. I feel so fortunate to be at Valley Medical. She's getting phenomenal care. Then after that, it seemed like it was nothing but a parade of people for a while. A group of 3 doctors came in, and they introduced themselves. And there was a lead doctor who was an Asian doctor, and I don't recall his name. I believe his last name was Hoy. But if I've messed that up, I do apologize. I'll get it right because we'll be interacting. And basically, they, interacted with Sue a little bit and talked with me a little bit about what the process is, just in very high-level terms, and kind of how the week works. And what they do is they meet as a team on Tuesday, and I don't know, either later in the week, like Thursday or Friday, I forget. And so the team consists of nurses, all the therapists, a case manager who's really kind of the quarterback, and I have yet to meet this person. So I'm anxious to meet that person, hopefully today. I'll press for that. So their patients are broken up into teams, and I think there are 2 or 3 teams. So Suzy is on the orange team. I don't know if that has any significance or not. So I met the doctors. It was a very brief, probably 10-minute, maybe 15 minutes max. Good to meet you. This is our process. A little interaction with Suzy. Maybe a few questions about, her health history. How was she before coming in? Was she fully functional and active and all those things? And the answers were yes, yes, yes. I'm going to take a sip of coffee here. I'm getting a little parched. Pardon my hand. Okay, back at it. So I just messed up that sequence. Before the doctors, in came the speech therapist, and her name is Morgan, and she was absolutely phenomenal. And I did film a good portion, at least 20 minutes of her interaction with Suzy, and I did that for 2 reasons. One, I want to be able to let you guys see her in action, so you really have a sense of where she's at without going through my filter, my perception and description. And so So Morgan was great. And the other reason I'm filming is so I'll have something as a reference. Because, man, I feel like I'm going to school here. Not that I think I'm going to be a speech therapist, but I am going to need to use some of these tools and systems that these therapists are using with her. So, anyway, Morgan asked me questions about her, and we talked about, she told me, bring things from home that, like I told her about, she was asking me, is there anything from home you'd like to bring to kind of create a memory for her or a connection for her of home? And, I told her how, and this is the portion that I'm calling Pillow Talk. I told her how Suzy loves to decorate and she'll often rearrange things. She hasn't done that in years, but often she would rearrange the furniture. And I'm a guy who, like, once we get it in a place that I think looks good and is really functional, I like to keep it that way. But she likes change and expressing her creativity. So I told Morgan that one of the things that kind of bugged me was she loved to have decorative pillows around and on the sofa, which is in our little living room. And I'm in the living room right now opposite the sofa, and I'll show you in a minute. But when we would have a rare guest over, I would jump up and start pulling the pillows off and putting it behind the sofa because I wanted them to have a place to sit without feeling like they had to be on the edge of the sofa. And Suzy really didn't want that to happen. She wanted them to just sit with the pillows such as they were. So it wasn't a huge battle between us, and I'll admit I acquiesced. I just thought, let's not make mountains out of molehills. So I'm going to show you the pillow arrangement. And I told Suzy yesterday while we were having this discussion, I need to back up one step. There's another significant portion to this sofa, and that is I sleep on the sofa. And no, I'm not in the doghouse, and I have slept on it for a long time. And the reason is that I snore at night and that she can't sleep. So the bedroom's at the opposite end of the house. She can close the door. Sometimes she refers to my snoring as the Mexican train. So that's the story. But here, I'm going to turn this around and show you the pillow arrangement. And I will say that it's not arranged as nicely as Suzy would do herself personally, but I'm doing my best. And I did say to Suzy that every morning I'm putting the pillows back as I did when she was here. So I want her to know that I'm not leaving things totally out of order. There is something that I'm working on to maintain, what she created. So here's a quick view of the sofa and the pillows. And I hope I'm giving you a good shot of this because, again, I'm not looking through a viewfinder. This is on my iPhone. So anyway, that's the arrangement. And on the right side of the coffee table would be a vase. And that vase isn't there because I bought Suzy some flowers from Trader Joe's several days ago and used that vase for the flowers. Okay, so further discussion with Morgan. She's trying to get to know her patient and how she connect and how this patient can feel at home or more comfortable and thrive. And so one of the questions she had for me is, does Suzy have any hobbies? And I said, sadly, that she really doesn't. I mean, her life was work, and when she stopped working and selling, that was a big change for her. Big change for her. And energetically, she felt she just couldn't do it anymore. And this was, a decade ago. I mean, she has been on the decline energetically probably for 15 years. And quite frankly, it's kind of surprised me a little bit because she was such a dynamic, energetic person. I'll give a link to a video that she made, or a couple links to videos she made while we were in Mexico. And you'll see what I think was like what I remember as the true Suzy. Whether that was the true Suzy or not, I don't know. In the last several years, she's drawn more inward, less social. So, and we've talked about it. She says she's at peace with that. So maybe what is the more reserved Suzy is the true Suzy, and not putting on a performance. So back to hobbies. I really didn't have anything to offer. And about, I don't know, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, somewhere in there, we were talking about hobbies, something for her to have as an outlet for you to feel creative, interested, some sense of fulfillment. She decided that she would try to do little art projects on rocks. So, doing art on rocks. And she was able to buy like 5-pound bags of small black rocks from Amazon and bought some permanent colored pens and started doing little pieces of art on these rocks. And I'll show you them in just a second here. They're in the living room in different places. And when she was doing the rocks, I was excited. I love her rocks. I told her that. She thinks I'm crazy. She doesn't think it's has any artistic value. And I'd ask her about, do you feel anything when you're doing this? Is like you in the zone? Is it providing you some level of I don't even know what the words are, but I know when I'm creative, you get lost in the process. There's a sense of fulfillment. It's the personal expression. And she would tell me, not really. I'm just kind of forcing myself to do this. So I'm going to show you some of her rocks. Okay, here we go. And again, I hope that I'm capturing these correctly. So these rocks, you can see some of them, like this one, have like a dull finish on it. Again, I hope I'm getting this. And this one has a shinier finish. Again, I hope I'm getting that. The difference is the original rocks, she was just doing the ink pens on this, or the colored pens. And it was, kind of a rough, semi-rough, not real rough for rock. But I told her, let me spray paint some of these, spray paint a base coat on them. See, that's the original rock. So I spray painted this one black to give her a surface that was a little smoother and give you more vibrant color. And so that's what I did. I'll show you a few more here. So you can see she's done several. And I absolutely love these, cherish them, even before her stroke. I thought they were fantastic and still do. So anyway, those are the rocks. And so I'm kind of reluctant to bring a lot of stuff in. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. And I need to blow my nose. I'm sorry. Okay, back at it. Anyway, I want to bring her stuff, but there really isn't any room. And it's kind of shoveled around. And I had a anniversary card that I'd taken in. I mentioned on a previous video that had a photograph of a puppy that we had for many years, Ginseng, Shih Tzu puppy, and a little caption of him saying mama because she called him baby. And on the inside was a message and a selfie of Suzy and I from years ago. So it was a happy memory. And in transit to the rehab, I haven't been able to find her card. I think in the scheme of things, I can't really spend time looking for that. It's been several days, so I have to just chalk that up for something that's not going to be around anymore. So I'm going to take a look at my notes. Sorry for my hand. Okay, so that was speech therapy with Morgan, which to me was very illuminating, and I could see what Suzy could and couldn't do. I already had a fairly good handle on that, but it's always good to see it repeatedly, I think. And then after that, so Morgan came in at 10:30 and worked with her for an hour. So from then on, Suzy was resting. I think in there, they monitor her bladder, as I have told you before, for fullness. And then based on it getting to a certain level of fullness, they catheterize her and evacuate the urine. And I witnessed that firsthand for the first time. And there is some discomfort associated with that. And the nurse, who's an no, she's a clinical nurse. What that is, I don't know. But I just know it from her tag. And a good person, and I think highly competent, and was having difficulty and got out a second catheter and inserted it in her and then called for help from another RN. And they were able to, I guess, connect it with the urethra and evacuate her bladder. And she had quite a bit of urine, over, I think it might have been between 1/2 and 3/4 of a liter, which, you know, she's a teeny person, so that's a lot of volume for her. And what they try to do is they try to wait to catheterize because they are wanting the body to start to associate the sensation of a full bladder, so potentially in the future she'll be able to urinate without catheterization. So anyway, that was a new thing for me. Again, I'm thinking there's no way I'm going to know how to do that effectively. So that's where I get really worried about being able to bring her home. And I don't want her to suffer from my lack of skill in the medical area. So after that, I think she had a little time to rest. You know, that's a lot of activity for her. You know, occupational therapy is basically how to get dressed and how to groom, self-grooming, brushing your teeth, combing your hair. So I got there late and didn't see a lot of that, but she was in her own clothes for the first time. And I think the whole thing is you're trying to get the person started at, you know, learning the daily habits and the daily routines and the things you need to do to live. and you want the patient participating in like getting clothes on, even though they may not be able to do it themselves entirely or ever be able to do it entirely. You want them working toward that. That keeps them active. It's using their muscles, you know, message from brain to hands to pick up, pull up the pants, those kinds of things. So she was in her clothes. When I arrived, she was in the wheelchair, and she did have her tennis shoes on. So this is the first time that she's had shoes on since she's been in the hospital. And no, she's not walking, but you know, dressed, her top, her pants, her socks, her shoes. So that was great to see. And anyway, so after all that, I think she was a little tired after, you know, the 2 therapy sessions, the catheterization, the mini doctor conference, and then she just laid back to rest. And, you know, I'm thinking like, you know, I know that in about an hour, hour and a half that lunch is going to be coming up, and I'm concerned about her continuing to eat, and she has been eating well. So was concerned about her having the energy to do that, basically. But when time came to eat, they brought in the stuff. It was broccoli. I think it was chicken pot pie. And again, all this is like baby food consistency. I think apple crisp or apple pie, but again, it's all blended. Let's see what else. Apple juice, almond milk, which is what she has with every meal, and it's about 8 ounces. So between the apple juice and the almond milk, it's about 12 ounces, and she's pretty much drinking the whole thing. And I did a video of her eating. It's just like about a minute, but this time, it's the first time I've seen her eat without somebody spooning food into her mouth. So she was spooning it into her mouth. She was picking up the carton of almond milk and directing the straw into her mouth. And sometimes that was difficult for her to hit it because the straw sometimes is bending upward and you really can't see it well when it's down here. When you have it up here holding it higher, you can see the straw, but you don't see the straw orienting toward the lips. You know, it's all small things that we healthy people or relatively healthy people take for granted, but that and this also is part of her learning process, and I recognize that. So it is a little bit like a baby learning to walk. You know, you get up, take a step, fall down, get up, take 2 steps, fall down. So I'm recognizing that's part of her recovery. My friend Pew, and I mentioned this on a video that I did yesterday, she's I'm going to call her a visiting nurse or an in-home care nurse, but she travels from patient to patient. She lives in the East Bay, works for Kaiser. Kaiser's philosophy is to work with people and keep them healthy enough to keep them out of the hospital, which I think is a phenomenal philosophy. And so she has a lot of experience with stroke patients. They're, you know, some of her clientele. And she told me how somebody that she knew who didn't have a lot of resources was able to get significant care from Medi-Cal or financial support from Medi-Cal, and her medical social worker was phenomenal in executing that. So I was fairly persistent yesterday in tracking down the medical social worker, which I didn't meet until later. Actually, I think it was like 3 o'clock or so. And I was hoping that he would be the kind of person that Pew told me this other social worker was for Hugh's acquaintance. But unfortunately, although I think he's a really good guy and he gave me some really good suggestions and advice and counsel, he's not the guy to help me ramrod some more benefits our way. And basically, he told me the kind of people that are getting Medi-Cal right now for needing the kind of care that Suzy is, they're living in Section 8 housing, and it's like 2 or 3 families in a housing unit. You know, it could be a house, a duplex, a apartment, whatever, and that their income doesn't exceed, $2,800. And so I thought, holy smokes, how is somebody living in Silicon Valley paying rent and living on $2,800 a month? So that was discouraging, but I haven't given up on this. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted. He did tell me I told him I was really tired, and this was 3 o'clock. And one of the things in rehab is if in the afternoon, Monday through Thursday, they have classes for the family and future caregivers, not trained, unskilled caregivers for these patients to kind of prep them. And I told him I wanted to attend these things and make sure that I was up to speed, but I feel like I'm burning the candle at both ends a little bit. And he said, hey, don't worry about those classes. You don't need those classes. And so he said, take time for yourself. He said, make sure that you're here all day on Tuesdays. That's a big day because that's when the doctors and all the team meets. And I forget what the other day of the week, and I'll find out whether it's Thursday or Friday. I'll definitely be there for those days. But I'm balancing that with what the speech therapist said, and that my presence or the family member's presence is really critical in terms of helping the patient remain motivated and feel supported. So I want to do that. And so I've got stuff I need to do at home. And in terms of preparing for her, if I'm able to bring her home, I'm making assumptions a lot. My brother Jay said that when they brought his father-in-law home from a stroke and he lived with them for 8 years, that they got a hospital bed. So I assume I need to get a hospital bed. So I'm mentioning that to the social worker, and he's saying, whoa, you don't need a hospital bed. And so he says that's kind of at the high level. There are other options that are less expensive and blah, blah, blah. So I still feel like I need to get on the stick in terms of making our house more patient friendly. I don't know what other word to use than patient. I've thought about this because I don't consider her a patient for me. And mentally the word stroke victim comes up, but I absolutely hate that. I'm never going to use that with her. So he encouraged me to take days off, time for myself to get these other things done. And I will do more of that. I don't think I'm ever going to take a full day off because I want her to see me. And I want to see her. So, yeah, and a day off is never really a day off. It's just a day off doing something else. So anyway, I'd mentioned earlier that I was going to talk a little bit about my most cherished birthday gift ever. And I had a birthday about 6 weeks ago. And Suzy and I come from two different worlds as it relates to birthdays. Birthdays for her as a child were a trauma and a miserable event. And basically, her birthdays were, I don't know how to describe it other than a show. Keeping up with the Joneses. And so her mother did all the planning. Suzy wasn't asked anything about what she would like or not like. So it was like this event that you were dragged into that was supposed to be a celebration, but it never really felt like a happy time for her. So she doesn't celebrate birthdays. I'm always cautious around her birthday. I want to wish her happy birthday. I want her to know I love her. And just this year, I don't know if it was on her birthday or slightly before. Her birthday is March 1st. And she said to me, she said, you know what? I'm going to pick my own day for my birthday. And she said, I'm going to pick March 10th. And so after she told me that, I didn't say one word. I wanted to wait and see if she had remembered this declaration. And sure enough, on March 10th, she says, hey, it's my birthday. And I said, I know it is. I said, do you want to do anything? And do anything for us might be me picking up takeout at a restaurant we really like. So for her, it wasn't going out. She didn't like crowds and just liked the solitude of being at home in my company. And I don't remember whether we did that or not. I think we did. We did do that. We did pick up at a Key, which is described itself as a Cal Mex restaurant in downtown Campbell. And we love their food, and it's really nutritious and high quality. So we did that. So anyway, back to my most cherished birthday gift. I like birthdays. I like celebrating. Doesn't have to be big and off the charts, but it is a special day. And one thing that I did do is, although I'm primarily vegan, I told Suzy I wanted to get fresh halibut and barbecue it. And there's a community north of here called Half Moon Bay that's on the coast, which is I think a little over an hour drive. You have to go over the Santa Cruz Mountains, and years ago there's a little fish market there, and we bought some halibut and barbecued it, and it was the best fish I think I've ever had. The guy told me exactly how to barbecue it. I had asked him. I'm going to change hands here. I apologize. My other hand is getting a little fatigued. So anyway, found a fish and meat store, kind of a specialty store that is in Saratoga, near downtown Saratoga. I forget the name of it, and I believe my cousin Jeff Jordan, his high school buddy, owns it. And I asked if I'd looked up the name of the owner, and when I went in, I asked if he was there, and he wasn't. And if he was, I would have introduced myself and asked him if he knew Jeff Jordan. So anyway, I got halibut, and then I didn't know whether, in the past, Suzy has liked halibut, changing back to the other hand, has liked halibut, but I also got some Chilean sea bass. And so all of this, it's pretty expensive stuff. It's like, I don't know, $50+ a pound. And so I wound up spending about $90 on fish. And barbecued it, and it was fabulous. And, we didn't consume all that in one meal. I think we made about 3 or 4 meals out of it, augmenting it with salads and other side dishes. So anyway, back to my most cherished birthday gift. Suzy asked me on my birthday, she says, "What would you like me to do for you or give you for your birthday?" And I'm big, 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 big on handmade, personalized stuff. And I said, "I don't care what you do, but I want you to make it. I want it to be handmade." And so she wrote me a very loving birthday card on the back of a scrap piece of an old Amazon box. And I'm going to take you to my office, which is an utter disaster, but I'm not going to let you see the disaster. You'll get to see the office at some point in the future, maybe. We'll see. But the lighting isn't real great where I'm going to show you, but and I hope you can see this okay. Basically, this little scrap of cardboard says, "Happy B-Day, holy jolly." And she did a lot of little hearts with love and S and J and hugs and loves and more little hearts and Suzy S plus J. So this is my absolute cherished birthday present ever. And, she probably thought I'm crazy because I told her days later. I put it in my office. I had it out in the dining room table for many days, and then I put it in my office. But I would, on several occasions, tell her how much I appreciated that and loved it. She probably thought I was absolutely crazy. Like, why don't you just throw that thing away? It's a scrap of cardboard. I wrote you a note on it. But I was telling my good friend the other day, his name's Jerry Brown. He lives in Mexico, and we talk often. He's just a dear friend. I said, "This is the last handwritten thing that I ever got from her. So even if she does recover to a greater degree and is able to write, it's with her non-dominant hand, and it won't be anything like this. So I feel so grateful to have this, and it's so meaningful to me." So those little bits of handwritten stuff, so important, I think, for me at least. I know when my dad died, which was 23 years ago, one of the things I wanted, and I don't know that I really have it, is I wanted something with his handwriting on it. Because my dad had such beautiful penmanship, and in both printing and in cursive. And it's like a fingerprint. It's unique to the person, their handwriting style. And I've got a lot of my mom's handwriting stuff because I've saved all of her letters over the years, and she was a prolific card writer and letter writer, and I think it's the death of an era with email. Although email and texting is phenomenal, nothing replaces a handwritten note or card or a handmade, homemade card. And in that regard, I'm reluctant to publish our address publicly, but a number of you have reached out to me and said, I want to send Suzy something. And if you want to do that, just reach out to me. You can text me if you have my phone number. You can email me if you have my email address, or you can message me through Facebook, and I'll be glad to give you our mailing address, and it would be certainly welcomed. One of our former clients, Sarah, who is now in North Carolina, shout out to you, Sarah. She has 2 young daughters that she posts regularly on Facebook, and they have a lot of adventures. Her daughters are very bright, and Sarah's a phenomenal mother. Very caring, very supportive, and she went through challenges just to be a mom. And when I let Sarah know about Suzy's condition, she said, "What's your address? I want the girls to make Suzy a card." And that meant the world to me. I know when it arrives, I'm going to share it with her. I'll tape it up in her room. That's the kind of thing that, man, money can't buy that. So, Sarah, I want to thank you in advance. Haven't received a card yet, but I want to thank you in advance. Anyway, I'm going to end here. I got to stop blubbering. I got to get myself together and go for a walk. Much love to you guys. I appreciate all the support that people have passed on. It just means so much beyond words. So, we'll talk to you later. Bye.